On the Aurora cabin shawl, this is what your slip stitches should look like. And just follow the pattern closely to slip the right stitch, and you're going to get these really stretched out single stitches. And these are what those little cabled stitches, slip stitches, look like. So when you stretch out the fabric, you get that really exaggerated graphic effect, but it's really fun, and you get these nice breaks of other stitch patterns. Whenever I'm using all 5 colors during this multicolor slip stitch section that happens 3 times, I didn't break my yarns. I carried them along the edge, along the right edge, and this is what my wrong side looks like. Do you see those strands of yarn being carried along the edge? Now, the most important thing when you're carrying the yarns along the edge is not to carry them too tightly. So next I need to do this dark blue color for my next row. And when I bring that dark blue color up, let me show you. When I knit that first stitch, after I knit it, I just kind of pull on my edge a little bit so that I don't knit it so tight. You don't want it to be too tight and it puckers the edge and makes it, tight and uncomfortable. You want to give a little bit of extra tension when you knit those first 3 I-cord stitches. And when you stretch out, you do a little stretch test like this. And you want to just be able to see that nice straight line. But yeah, you don't have to think about it too much. Let me show you that one more time. When you knit your next color, because it's coming from way down below, just knit. So do you see how I didn't pull it so tight? I just gently knit those first 3 stitches. They might look a little loose at first, but just trust, it's going to be okay. It's going to all block out fine. And then let me show you another trick. Whenever you're working with these 5 yarns, these 5 colors for the multicolor slip stitch section, things can get a little tangled, okay? So when I'm knitting, my trick is just to keep them all laid out on a table. If they're just in a bag next to you and all bundled up, things can get really, really messy. So I like to have them all laid out, or you could have like a few of the yarns on your right side of you and a couple of them sitting on the left side of you. Just keep them all laid out and organized. Every time I use a new color, like that dark blue, I like to grab that new dark color and I like to bring it from below. So it's the most right strand of yarn. It's going to the right of all the other strands. So whenever I grab my new color, I just look at my situation and go, oh, yeah, it's getting a little tangled, and just do a little bit of housekeeping. So take that new color and just weave it through the other strands so that you free that color. And then I'm going to put that color to the right of my pile. But sometimes you'll have to do a little more untangling, especially if you don't do it after every color. But try to just do a little bit of housekeeping after every single time you use a new color. You just need to do a couple more. There, needs to go under the purple. There we go, that one's free. So now I put this one on the right, and then I can knit and have this strand free to knit with, and it's not going to get tangled as I knit with my new color of yarn. So do that for each color. If things feel like they're just getting so tangled and messy, it's totally fine to break your yarns. And when you knit a new strand of yarn, do the weave-in Steven technique to knit your tails of yarn in as you go. So it's okay if you break your yarns, even just a couple colors to make it easier for you every now and then. Because the biggest issue I had when I was knitting mine, when I threw all my colors in a bag and ran out the door, or I left my knitting and my dog grabbed my ball of yarn and went on the floor, things got really tangly. So I just untangled them and laid them out on the table as I knit. And I found that that was really easy to lay the colors out and always put the next color that you're going to use over here on the right and make sure the strand is free to make it easy to knit with, or put a few colors to your right and a couple colors to your left, and that's going to help keep things organized. So those are a few tips to help you knit that shawl. And when in doubt, if it feels fussy, just break your yarn and you can do the weave-in Steven, knit your tail in as you go. But that's my wrong side. I really was happy with how it looked on both sides in the end, and you get that nice stretch. Just make sure you can stretch your edge a little bit like that. Don't carry the yarns too tight along the edge. And you'll get those beautiful slip stitches for the Aurora cabin shawl.